Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is the Spirited Traveler here, coming to you today with another patio talk. Today I decided that I'm going to crack open my birthday bottle of Angel's Envy. This is my personalized bottle that has the Spirited Traveler's name on it. It has the angel wings in the back, and I really like it. Now, I already posted my video of my tour. It's a 3-part video of me touring the Angel's Envy factory, learning, first off, learning about bourbon, what actually is bourbon, what constitutes a whiskey to be bourbon. All bourbon's a whiskey, but not all whiskey is a bourbon. Some things that Angel Envy does to make their bourbon a little bit different, a little bit special and unique. And in the third part of my Angel's Envy tour is the piece that captures the actual bourbon tasting. So learned a lot about the correct way to taste bourbon, some of the taste profiles you get when drinking Angel's Envy, and some other things. So you check out that video to get a little bit more detail on that. It was really fun. Lots of information. We had like a 4-step testing process, and he gave us some really good tricks to really kind of help like acclimate yourself to bourbon, or whichever bourbon you're drinking at the time, so that as you're drinking your own bourbon, you can actually enjoy it. So I thought that was really cool. But while we were in the tour, our tour guide let us know about these Angel's Envy chocolate that one of the local chocolatiers put together just for them. So they designed and created these chocolates with the purpose in mind of the Angel's Envy bourbon. So my little box here contains 4 different chocolates. One is just a 40% cocoa from Colombia. One is a 58.5% cocoa from Venezuela. One is a dark blend with nutmeg, and the orange shamir, which is the one we had during the tasting, is made with milk chocolate. So let me see. I guess as I'm going through and tasting the chocolate, I'll kind of give some of the notes of the chocolate, I guess, if I can. Really, it just doesn't really tell me anything. But anyway, so these chocolates, again, they were created specifically with the Angel's Envy. So since I've already done the tour of the facility and I've already posted my actual bourbon tasting, I thought I would come home today, crack open my bottle, and do a chocolate pairing with you guys. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to get going on the chocolate pairing now. So this is the box. It's the front, and then this is the back with the 4 types of chocolate that I mentioned earlier that are in here. So let's get this open. So this is what they look like. We have this is your orange shamir. This is the 58.5% cocoa from Venezuela. This is the dark blend with nutmeg, and then the star is the 40% cocoa from Colombia. Just noticed that there was a little bit of inside information on the package of the chocolates, so I will kind of use this to help guide me along today. Now, I don't want to do a direct repeat of the tasting, so I won't repeat just like verbatim everything that we did in the tasting, but some things that I do like and I will I use going forward to help me with bourbon. Again, I'm very new on the bourbon exploration kick. I've just started down this trail. What, Charles? Hold on, the cat wants to go on out. All right, so he did give us a couple of nice little tips and tricks for when it comes to bourbon. One of the first things he recommended is like kind of look at the color. You look at the legs, you kind of swish it and look at the legs. And if you're not a wine drinker, you might not be very familiar with what legs are, but legs are like as you swirl a glass, and then the liquid that pooled on the side kind of starts coming down, and sometimes it forms like little lines that is called legs. So you kind of look for that, and it has legs, and I know you won't be able to see it, and they're very slow forming, which according to our tour guide is actually what you want. Slow forming and slow moving legs, which I can say Angel's Envy does have very slow forming and slow moving legs. There they are down the side there. It's an indication of a full body bourbon. So, and then he recommends you take a smell. Now, his trick is, so that you don't pass out like we almost did during that tasting, is that when you smell, to keep your mouth open, that way it's giving the alcohol vapors some place to escape. So that was key trick number one. And that you can smell, it smells really good. And while you can kind of feel the alcohol ting a little bit, like in the back of your nose, it's not like that overwhelming head rush you want to pass out sensation with your mouth open. So that is a really good tip, and I like that. And then next, he suggests you just take a quick sip, just a sip. Kind of see what you taste. It's a little bit of heat and sweetness like right off the bat, and then other tastes kind of settle down. And then I thought this was a really good trick. So, and then for step 2, you take another sip, but you swish it around your mouth for 7 to 8 seconds before you swallow it. So, you let it out, because it just feel like, see, it's like a little puff, the magic dragon sensation in your mouth, like I'm Drogon right now, which is a Game of Thrones reference to you all out there. You know I'm a big geek, as well as being a nerd. So the purpose of doing that and getting that full mouth hot sensation is to actually remove the burn from subsequent drinks. Let me see if I can find my notes on exactly what he said. Right, it's designed to get your palate involved, so it kind of wakes your tongue up, but it also numbs some of your nerve endings to make it not so hot on subsequent sips. And then you take another sip. And it's just much more palatable. That initial heat that I got on my tongue when I first tasted it is like it's gone. You get like a little bit at the end, but it's not harsh at all. So get going with this chocolate. First off, I want to start with the orange Shamir. Again, this is the chocolate we actually had during the tour, and it is really tasty. I'm going to read what it says about the orange Shamir. The orange Shamir is a velvety milk chocolate with an intense orange flavor, and when paired with Angel's Envy, the taste is both light and ephemeral, as the orange blossom notes mingle perfectly with our spirit, revealing a pleasant acidity that plays nicely with a port finish. So let's taste it. That is really smooth, and you do taste like a quick hint of orange right off the top. And it's not an astringent orange, it is more like an orange blossom, or almost like an orange candy, and I know that is candy, so I hope that's not sounding too oxymoronish, but in my mind, like the orange you get from like an orange candy, that's what that tastes like. And let's take a sip of our bourbon. And I agree, it goes very well with the bourbon. I normally stay away from sweets when I'm drinking, but this is not an overwhelming sweetness, but but you do get the sweetness from the orange blossom. So next up, I'm going to try this 58.5% cocoa from Venezuela. It's like a horseshoe. And let's read what it has to say about that. This chocolate is a delicious balance of sweet and rich cocoa with a splash of bourbon. You will notice the dark and mellow raisin notes. But on a second sip, the chocolate brightens with an intense burst of flavor and showcases the corn character in Angel's Envy. Okay, so this is basically just a sweet and rich chocolate is what it says. And as you taste it and take it with bourbon, you should notice, I guess, the dark mellow notes initially, and then as you take another sip, it should brighten with the burst of flavor that's supposed to complement the corn. We'll see. First bite, and I've never tried this one. This is my first bite of this one. It is a bit more intense than the orange Shamir, but it is really good. It's really tasty. It's still silky and smooth. And let's see. I find it absolutely astounding how subtly nuanced this tastes different when I was eating the orange chocolate versus what I'm eating versus when I'm eating this one. With the orange, it kind of brought out the sweetness in the bourbon a little bit more for me, and this does tend to bring out some of the more kind of maybe spicy notes. Our tour guide was telling us that in most bourbon profiles you get like a sweet profile, you get a spicy profile, and I believe you get a bitter profile, and it's just a matter of what balance those are in the bourbon. But this is kind of brings out more of the I guess more of the undertones and the spiciness a little bit maybe. You can kind of get a little hint of raisin. I can see where they're coming from with that. That really is good, and it did taste different on the second try. Wow. Okay, I really like that. Now let's go to the dark blend with the nutmeg, if I can get it out of here without making a mess. You guys know I'm clumsy as crap. All right, this is the dark blend with nutmeg, just a square. And this is the chocolatiers that make this. Their names are Art Eatables, and this is their house chocolate. It's a dark blend with heavy notes of vanilla, rich cocoa, and dark fruit. Now, when tasted with Angel's Envy, it brings out the warmth of the port with a rich, soft, well-rounded fudge finish. Okay. Okay, this is good. This is like holiday in your mouth without being overly festive, if that makes any sense. So when I say holiday, I'm talking about your baking spices holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. You definitely can get the nutmeg on the back, and the nutmeg lingers. Like it's really pleasant though. It lingers like a really nice baked good. This is good chocolate. Oh sweet. I'm not just saying this, but seriously, the bourbon tastes slightly different with each different chocolate that I'm tasting. And it's like I started out at number one. I liked that one, and I went to the dark, what was it, the 58.5%, and I liked it. But now this is my favorite one. The nutmeg kicks in right before you finish it, and then as you swallow it, it's like nice, just a nice lingering of nutmeg in your. This is so tasty. There's absolutely no burn with this now. It's just smooth. I'm not even getting a whole bunch of sweet notes with it. It just seems as though sweetness that was very prevalent on my first few sips when I did my 3 acclimation sips, and that was highlighted with the orange Shamir chocolate. It's gone. But I'm not getting anything bitter. It's very smooth. I'm gonna go to my images really quickly just to kind of because they gave us like a tasting note chart while we were there, and of course everyone's palate is different, so you're going to taste some different things. But here are some things that they've tasted in their bourbon and what other people have told them they're tasting their bourbon. So you get some raisins on the nose, a Madeira finish, which is, I believe, is a Spanish wine. Don't quote me, but I believe it's a Spanish wine. Madeira. I have to look it up. Ripe fruit, vanilla, bitter chocolate, maple syrup. Again, on the nose, not on the taste profile, but on the nose. Yep, it almost smells like pecans or walnuts. I get a nutty aroma like pecans, walnuts. And some people even smell and taste toast. I don't get the buttery toast to it, but I definitely get like the smoothness and the richness of like the dark chocolate. A little bit of raisin to kind of brighten it a little bit. But yeah, I can. Those are tasty. All right, so I'm trying to wrap this up now because the sun is going down a little bit, but it seems to be like more people are letting their dogs out, so I'm hearing more and more little yips. So let's see if we can finish this without too much dog interruption. Now my last chocolate is the 40% chocolate from Colombia, and this is the Star. So this one is says unaccompanied. This milk chocolate has notes of vanilla, dry caramel, and a slight toasted nut flavor with a dry finish. Paired with the whiskey, it brings out an almost malty quality in the chocolate, coating the mouth pleasantly. Okay, definitely on the back end of the chocolate you get a little hint of the vanilla, but that caramel really does come through. It's not good or bad, it just does. But I will say this, it's much spicier to me after the 40% cocoa than it was with the 48%, well, the 58.5% cocoa, which is this one here. I promise you, it's not spicy anymore. Oh my goodness, my mind is blown now. How each of these different chocolates impact this one beverage. I'm back to the 40%. I just want to test myself, see if it's spicy again now. Yep, the very first hit was spice. So I have just like learned a lot sitting out here with my little uneducated self in this box of chocolates and these little notes. So I will say I am a true believer in how these different chocolates help. First off, all four of these chocolates go extremely well with the Angel's Envy Bourbon. But I really do like how each different chocolate brings out a different, for me, it brings out different taste profiles for me. Again, some highlight the sweetness, like this orange Shamir, really to me highlights the sweetness of the bourbon, whereas the 58.5% cocoa from Venezuela kind of takes the sweetness away, removes like the really strong hit of spice, and you can just really enjoy like all of the middle ground flavors, just the smoothness, the richness, that middle ground flavor of the bourbon itself is really highlighted with this one. And I just really like, as far as straight, like eating chocolate straight, I really like this dark blend with nutmeg. It's just a pleasant surprise to me with how it just kind of coats that nutmeg on the back. And I do like how it kind of smooths and brings out, while both this and the 58.5% chocolate smooth out the bourbon for me, this highlights a slightly different flavor profile for me than the 58.5% did. That's a very thick, nice mouthfeel as well too. Very silky. I'm trying to stop with the shocked face, but every time I go from chocolate to chocolate, it's a different experience. So if you like to try this at home, I recommend you grab your bottles of Angel's Envy. Hopefully you guys can see this without me dropping it. You can contact Kelly Ramsey of Art Eatables in Louisville, Kentucky, and see if you can purchase either some of the chocolates or the chocolates from this set if it's available for purchase outside of going through the tour. But this is simply delicious. And then this is the last of my 58.5% cocoa from Venezuela. That's it. All right, you guys have a good night. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Patio Talk. So I hope you can enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening with a little bit of patio pimping, I like to call it. I think I'm going to pour me another finger or two of this, of my Angel's Envy. And I think D-Nights is spinning, so I'm fixing to get into some club quarantine. Peace. That sounded so cliche, didn't it? Peace, Lord. I'm gonna work on my outros for Patio Talk, but I don't think it's gonna be peace. It just sounded really cliche. Till next time, and everyone, get spirited.